Hey everyone, welcome back to another On the Sensors production. And I've got with me Gandork. He has returned. He is our first guest to come back,
What?
which is pretty.
No, you
Yeah.
can't get anybody else to come back. It's like it did it once, never again.
To be fair, we haven't asked. You were just that
Oh, okay,
that cool of a
okay.
guest that I
That
I
makes
wanted to reach
sense.
back out. So yeah. So how you doing, man?
Doing good. I mean, we're recording this on a Monday night, which sucks for just the week getting started. But yeah, other than that, not much to complain about. Things are going well.
Excellent, man. Yeah, I'm with you. It's Mondays can make the week feel a little longer, but hey, at least you're hanging out there, out in the woods, nice little
Yeah,
campfire.
out in the wood,
It's lovely.
got my satellite internet out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
So anyway, man, I just I thought we could just catch up on a couple of things. We did just recently have a balance update that ARH crew, and you put out the article for that. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that, how you think how that's playing out. If you've gotten any feedback, I also wanted to talk a little bit about some in-person events, maybe our musings on that, because it seems like I know we kind of touched on this last time. I think you and I did just like what we hope to happen in the future in in-person events, and maybe you can talk a little bit about Smash too, right? Because today, I guess when this is published, it'll be a few days in the past, but today we did just spoil the Seventh Sister deck list for Smash Phase 3, so that's pretty neat. We're happy
Classic
that
character.
yeah, man. Can you guess why they chose us to spoil that deck?
No.
Because of the ID9 Seeker Droid.
Oh yeah. Oh. It was right there staring me in the face.
Yes.
And I didn't even see it.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and actually, man, speaking of Smash, like I haven't really gotten too much into it lately, or well, previously. But if you could see my desk right here, it's like full of cards and dice. I'm trying to assemble everything. So like the more we think about trying to get people to play and expand the game and grow and get people playing in person, to me that feels like Smash is a perfect way to do that. So anyway, I don't want to get up too far down on that topic, but so let's talk balance. So yeah, some pretty big changes. I think some pretty needed changes, but I don't know. I'll toss it over to you, man. Any how do you think it's going so far?
I feel like I mean it's pretty early. I think, or at least I haven't seen a lot of feedback or a lot of results or a lot of things going on. But I think early feel is promising. I mean, I think the bigger part of the the feedback that I've seen thus far is as I've watched the continuation of like the top cut for League and the Invitational for League, and just seeing the decks that are still dominating. Like they're kind of reaffirming that not just I, but we. I guess I should use a we
Because they're
have
still.
made,
So just
yeah.
quick point for the viewers, they're still using the old holocron.
Yeah.
Right.
So like the top cuts don't like immediately switch. Like they're gonna finish out with the decks that they had registered. So yeah, the Invitational is roughly in. I think they have one side of the tree is lagging, but I think they only got like 4, maybe 5 matches left to finish it up, and then the top 8 for the last month June league is finished. But yeah, just like looking at those leagues, like just total domination by Mando, and if it's not Mando, just total domination by this Dak Han stay ahead decks. Like those decks are just monsters is what we're seeing. So
okay, I think so. Just a quick, I guess, procedural point. I think it's interesting. I guess I never make it to the top cut, but if I did, and if that ever happened, I mean, it's nice that you keep it apples to apples, right? You can't. It seems like it would just throw it off to change it mid league, so to speak. So they just wait for the next one, right?
Yeah.
That's
well, the league, the actual league games, like before the top cut, will change pretty much immediately upon the release of a balance update. So like the people playing in the July league, like they started the first half of the month on one set of rules, and then they finished the rest of the month on the second set of the rules. But yeah, we don't like the top cut is just that's people register their decks for the top cut. Yeah, I guess to take an even farther step back for people that haven't done the league. Generally, for your league games, you play 8 matches against anybody else in the league. Like there's no pairings or whatever, and you can play a different deck each of the 8 rounds. So you're not locked into any deck. You don't have to submit a deck list. In fact, the recent leagues, the last league and last month's league and this month's league is about to start. Well, I guess last month I should mean this month's league, July and August to start. We added a new rule where you get actually bonus league points if you manage to go through your 8 qualifying games without ever reusing a character across the game. So yeah, you basically, like, players are incentivized to play different decks all through the regular league games, and that's kind of why, like, it's not a big deal for the regular league games. Like, if there's a balance update, they can play new decks because they're playing new decks all the time anyway. But yeah, once you're in the top cut, like if you make like the top 8 of the league and you go into, we play it like a playoff bracket, a single elimination bracket, and all of the participants register their deck lists that they're going to play throughout the whole bracket, and then the deck lists are shared among all the top 8 competitors, so they kind of know what everybody's playing. And it's a little bit, it's a step up. Like the league part of it, super casual. The top 8 of it gets competitive.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah, makes sense. So sounds good though. I mean, it sounds like the changes, especially with respect to Mando, you're kind of seeing 2 sides of the coin, right? You're seeing just normal league matches play out with the balance update in effect, and then the top cut, with them not in effect. So you get to sort of see that clear comparison. So that's good. It sounds like that one you're pretty happy with. What about some of the other ones? Any feedback or any other data that suggests how it's going?
Not a whole lot. Like we saw, like Dice Commando had their event, and Mando didn't win, though was still up there, and they only had like 7 players in there. But that match, that tournament they had was won by I think Rebel Trader playing. It was really, I think it was Satine, Quill, C3PO, Rescue Han.
I saw that, yeah.
Which is
support style deck.
Yeah, anybody seen or talked about? So that was pretty cool to see that get up there in amidst the other stuff. But yeah, the other experience that I have, like I've played in a Wednesday night event since the change, which I won with Pirates. Which that might, depending on who you are, that might make some people not happy that I won with Pirates, because it's still kind of a very divisive deck. But it wasn't the usual like Mando Dakon stuff that really felt like needed to get toned down.
Sure. Yeah, Pirates are so good. I don't think there's any denying that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the other 2 big ones, and then we can move on from balance. Maybe just talk about some other stuff. So there's Admiral, and then the Han change. So what do you think about that? How do you think that stuff's playing out?
Probably the Admiral stuff is good. Like that was probably the most divisive change that we did with the Admiral ban. And like some people were like, why this? Why ban it? Like that seems harsh. It was just kind of like Admiral was an okay card for, it was borderline competitive for a long time. But Admiral kind of always had the issue where like decks that really did well with Admiral had to like that was their win condition. Like they couldn't win unless Admiral hit the table, and it gave them like a little bit more inconsistency. But then we started having these big characters come around, like the Jin with Han. The new high stakes Han is just being a really strong partner, and then obviously like Mando and Sniper, though they didn't even always run Admiral to some extent at one point, or at some points at the end, because they were just so good without it. But essentially the breaking point with Admiral came where we had these decks that were like, these decks are top tier without Admiral, and then Admiral is just this way that they can win extra games that without it even being close. They were just buying free wins off this card, and that kind of got to the point where like, well, how do we fix this? Don't want to errata Admiral. It's been around forever. It's weird when we errata FFG cards. We try to avoid that if at all possible. So yeah, like it just came to like the only thing that really made sense was finding a ban. And like there was a lot of stuff from like our balance people that was put up and that we discussed internally, like should we ban you are in command now, because that was like a thing like that really lets people recycle it or get it more consistently, use it, use it outside of a leader, stuff that comes through. Do we just restrict general and admiral, because that combo was really good, but I don't know if that really addressed like the whole problem. Like, it was nice to overwrite general into admiral in those kinds of decks, but like other decks have been overwriting something with admiral. Like, not often do players have the 6 resources that they just play. Like, it gets over it, they're overriding vibra swords or overriding other stuff. I don't think that really was the breaking point at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't know, those are just kind of some of the thoughts behind it. If people were wondering, like, it seems rash, like, we put a lot of thought into other ways to address, this power thing. Like, it was just showing up in all kinds of decks now that were just good. It was, and it was just too much of an unearned bonus now that you didn't have to devote so much to it. And like, some people were like, it was the only combo deck in Destiny, but I'm like, was it really a combo deck? It was basically like one card. And yeah, I get it kind of felt like a combo deck, but it wasn't really a combo deck. In the traditional sense. Like, you weren't having to assemble a Voltron to try to win. You're just like, I just have to live long enough that this one card lets me ready 3 times and I win the game.
Yeah. There's also the after effects. A lot of characters have after effects. You've got Hondo, he rolls an extra dice. You've got the new high stakes Han, he rolls an extra dice. And each activation, right, can potentially get more dice out there. So you don't even have to worry about resolving what's in the pool. So that's maybe another interesting point. I'm not sure if that factored in, but no, it makes sense. I'm not even going to try to comment too much there, because I'm out of my league at this point. But I think it's the viewer will appreciate that that insight.
Oh yeah.
What about Han? What do you think about him?
Yeah. So Han was one of these things, like, since he came out in transformations, like, he's been a target of everybody's, is like, why is he so cheap? And on the other side, people are probably wondering, like, why did you guys wait so long to like do anything with Han? And like, I don't know, it was just one of those borderline things where I think for like a long time, he was like one of the best things that like hero decks had going for them for a little while. So like, it felt like, oh hey, if we hit Han, like, we're just taking hero like out of the meta, because like he was kind of like a linchpin for hero as an affiliation. And I think we kind of got to a point now where like hero is probably in the lead. Like, if I look at recent events, like villain decks were behind, like, you're less represented, particularly if you look at like the release event for high stakes. And yeah, it just kind of got to a point where like, yeah, Han probably could take a nerf now. Like, just everything around him in hero is caught up to him to some extent. And he's probably detrimental at this point, because he's a good step better than anything at 13, like, which everyone knew he was. But yeah, hopefully by now that everything else is caught up and we make him 14, that people can look at those 13 cost or less like characters and not feel like they're at a huge disadvantage if they play them now. I hope that line of logic kind of makes sense, but that's kind of the thought. Like, why wait till now? Because early he was kind of needed to make hero competitive. Now people can play the weaker 13 cost 13 cost characters in hero and feel okay about it. And they got stuff like, Wedge that came out of the new set.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Thinking about heroes' overall power level, if you will, and then that that faction or them needed to catch up. That's an interesting way to put it. I think that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they have, right now, people who may wonder, well, why now? Well, that's your reason, right? I mean, it makes sense. I think it's a good sound logic. I think the other ones stay ahead. I mean, to me, that one felt like a no-brainer. Like, that was probably the easiest change I would imagine you guys made.
Yeah, kind of right out of the gate. Like, that hands down was probably like, I don't think anybody debated it from our balance contributors. We're just like, stay ahead's going to 3, and pretty much everyone's like, yeah, no. I don't know if that got much debate at all. It was too value added for 2. 3 feels much better, and I don't know, like, it's these pilot decks. Like, it took a while. Like, piloting was kind of a joke, and now it's kind of come back around. They've got enough support that they're really strong. and Stay Ahead just fit into all of them really well to just give them even more consistency. I think it's still a good card. Like, you're still buying a lot of consistency for 3 points, but yeah, I don't think it's dead. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if people find builds with 3 points. And I know people have been taught, like, Wedge is kind of a little bit undercosted, and it kind of, people go, oh, let's do Wedge Stay Ahead. That's only 15. I got 15 points to play with apart from that. So, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course. So maybe we could start to move on from balance. I mean, but before we do, anything else you want to add, or any other thoughts, just balance wise?
Yeah, like a lot of people are like, I know eject's kind of been like, how are we going to address eject? It's been a card people have talked about for a while. A lot of people have been like, well, you should restrict eject and merchant freighter, but I never felt the restriction on that was like fair. I don't know if fair is the right word, but like, merchant freighter in those pilot decks is kind of like it's their way to make money, and I didn't quite want to take away both of those cards for them. I just didn't want them to eject the merchant freighter anymore, so that felt like a good change there. And I do feel definitely as I watched like the DAC Hans and stuff proceed that it was warranted, so I'm not super upset about it. Other stuff, like, I don't know, we debated a lot on Akbar, like if he should be freed to some extent. Either point reduction taken away so we could get United back, but I don't know, I just didn't feel like it was the right time. But that card, he got a lot of debate with this balance update. But it just never quite, I don't know, it didn't make enough sense for me to, like, I worry with Akbar, and part of the reason why he got his points increased is that by lowering them, I worry that he gatekeeps a bunch of decks out of the meta. And it's just kind of an awkward, thing. Like, I wanted with this change to try to hopefully breathe life into a wide range of decks, and it seemed like a bad time to bring Akbar back because I feel like he would have did the opposite of what my goal was. Let's see what else. Like, taking Abandoned Refinery and Chopper off the restricted list, I wasn't worried about. I feel like that combo is just, the power level doesn't matter anymore. It's particularly like you can't play them with the droids and either, the C3PO R2D2 either, which I didn't have to debate not ever taking off the list because I don't want to see that deck come back. But yeah, we probably could have taken Chopper. Yeah, we probably could have taken Chopper Refinery off a while ago as a thing. And I think that, we've talked about all the changes. I mean, I think it's really nice to hear that you do have like an objective in mind. I mean, we heard you say you wanted to open up decks, right? And that was maybe one of the reasons why you didn't break Admiral or Akbar free, so to speak. So I think that's awesome, to have sort of a balanced objective in mind. It's not just like haphazardly make a change here, make a change there. So I think that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how you have to approach it. Like, you have to, when I come up to one of these balance updates and I'm approaching our balance feedback people, I try to think of like, and I'll present this to like the people too, like my objectives for the current meta of like, there might be some like target decks that I need to tone down, but then, there might also be some sub-objective of like, I want to open up more, like, I feel like we don't have enough diversity in hero decks or enough diversity in villain decks or, things along those lines. Maybe Inquisitors suck. Like, so we want to, reduce the points or try to find some new teams that Inquisitors can work with. Like, there's a little bit of all that stuff that comes into play. And it, stuff kind of depends on where we are in the cycle. Like, if I'm going to make some decks better with like negative balance of the Force updates, that's probably going to happen toward the end of a meta cycle before a new set comes out. And the balance updates to open up the meta will happen more toward the beginning of a set cycle, particularly if stuff comes out and it feels like people can't access a lot of the new stuff from the new set because certain things are just in their way. That's when those kind of balance updates come into play.
Yeah. So what about other stuff on the ban list? So what do we have? We have
Camino. Yeah, Camino was hugely debated. I thought about taking it off, but I'm just not a fan of the card in general. Like, it was designed in Faltering Allegiances, and they thought it was a fun, like, red needed some power cards when it came out. So that was kind of the thought behind it, is like, we need some linchpin like red cards, and like, red's to some extent, it's kind of been the joke across the lifespan of Destiny, because it's never quite been like, it was never. You played red for some utility, but like red was never like a premier color for the longest time, and there was always like this idea, I think, early with Faltering Allegiances, that they wanted to give it some linchpin cards, and that was one of them. But I was never a huge fan of the design, because I feel like, at least from if you can get it early, it's too strong for those red decks. Like if they can land those, land it round 1 or 2, it gives them too much of a bonus. But if they can't, if they get it later, then it's dead. And then on the opposite end, like we have more cards that can punish it now, like other than Desperate Measures was like the only thing that could get rid of it. But I don't know if we have enough that I'm like, oh, this is fine, like coming back. And I think going back to the discussion on cards that could possibly like narrow the meta, like blue in general doesn't have a good way to answer that. And I think bringing back Camino, it fits into decks like, and it fits right into, for example, the Jin high stakes Han list. And you have to remember, high stakes Han brings red dice with him from the veteran stormtroopers. So like all of a sudden you're like, have a deck that's really strong and a great pairing. You're like, we're just going to give it this, and blue decks can't deal with Camino at all. And I don't know, it just still doesn't feel like the right time. That's one I debated a lot on, of possibly unbanning it. Like, is it good enough? And I was like, I don't know if there was enough reasons this makes sense to take off the ban list. So ultimately decided not to.
Is that one that maybe that and others that might play into Akbar decision as well? Like maybe you design in the future a next set like more support hate for blue, then that sort of allows you to bring that off the ban list, or bring Akbar back, so to speak, or bring him out of jail.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I mean, I try not to tread on design. I let them do what they want to do. And I know, like, from the design perspective, they have to think of things like color pie, and like what certain colors and factions can and can't do, and those kinds of decisions make things interesting. So like to some extent, like it's not a coincidence that blue doesn't have answers for those. It's kind of by design that blue as a faction struggles to deal with supports, like but where yellow and red can. So it's just one of those things though, like if you get a support that's just too strong, it feels like it punishes them too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other supports aren't much different than just like an upgrade or die hitting the table. And yeah, they can't, blow it up, but they have die removal, where Camino's not that kind of support. Like the die removal, it helps, but not in the same way.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's good to know, man. It's good insight. Well, let's move on from balance a bit, and maybe I'll ask you: did you fill out our survey, our geography?
I never got around to it.
Oh man, okay. Because I thought, I know we talked at the beginning. I thought I remembered seeing someone from Idaho.
It might have been someone else that's in my play group, but it wasn't me.
Okay. Well, definitely fill it out soon. Did you at least look at the map that we put out, though? A couple of times we put out a.
I did stare at it a couple times, but I've been really busy lately.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, maybe we can shift gears a little bit and just talk about, like, what does that mean? I mean, when I talk to the crew about it, 86 and Pauly and Duncan and Drac, like we look at that and we think, man, it's exciting thinking about how many players there are. I mean, I'm sure in its heyday there was probably thousands, right? Who, if they had filled that out, it would have been just one solid red color. But I mean, even now, I mean, it's just nice to see that. And there was a lot of people who said, like, man, I had no idea there was 5 other people in Illinois. There's just like, there's like 7 people in Illinois, and like, who knew? And so anyway, it's just like kind of gives us a little bit of inspiration to think about hosting an in-person event or a get together or something like that. So I don't know, it'd be kind of nice. Yeah, what do you think, man? What would you like to see?
I would definitely like to see some return to in-person play. And yeah, I love the idea of the map. It's one of the things that I think FFG lacked on kind of severely, that they didn't really provide any way for communities to organize, which, considering, the kind of games that they released, it was just, I don't know, it was an oversight by them. But I think, like, you look at other game companies and they have ways for like their communities to figure out like who's playing around them and find play groups and whatnot. But yeah, it was never priority for FFG, but they were always kind of like a board game company that was just dipping their toes into like an organized competitive world, and never quite committed fully. But yeah, no, I like that idea. I like to see that there's, that I still get surprised. Like, I'm in the Facebook group, and I just still get surprised by the number of new players we even get just poking their heads in the Facebook group of like, hey, I just got some starter decks. Hey, I want to get into this game. And it's like, I've been a part of a lot of canceled games. I've never seen a game this long after it was quote killed still have like such a dedicated player base. And I mean, to some extent, thank the internet for existing in a better way than it probably did like even 10 years ago for that stuff to happen. But it's awesome. So
yeah, I mean, and there's still tons of product out there. So 86 right now, he's in Minnesota. Is it Minnesota? Is that where the old FFG headquarters was?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's now called Game Center. He's actually playing in an in-person event there right now. I think they do like an ARH. They do like a Legacies block, Convergence block plus ARH. That's the format. I think he was saying. It's crazy. But anyway, he took a photo. Actually, it wasn't Game Center. It was some other local shop. I wish I knew the name. We'll put it in the description or something just to plug it. But they were selling I want to say they were selling covert missions for definitely less than $100. I mean, and there's stuff still out there. It's wild that there's still products on the shelves. Yeah.
Yeah, Covert Missions is usually still pretty high price because the print run was small. But yeah, that's still good.
Yeah. But yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's a lot of people out there on the Facebook group. They pop up, ask rules questions, and my sense too is that there's a lot of people on Facebook who aren't really in the Discord scene yet, or they just, I don't know, they play locally with friends or their son or daughter or spouse, and they don't really care to join like an online group. But I mean, there's players out there. So that, that's why we always have to post in Facebook and in Discord, because there's almost like, it's not like it's two separate audiences, but to some extent, I think that there's people, if you only post in Discord, you just wouldn't reach.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. Like I've done like pseudo tests where like I would go up to do like my Wednesday night stream and I would only post it in Discords and not on Facebook. And yeah, I always get way more viewers if I just put it up in the Facebook group too. Like people, Discord takes like a separate app or thing to like access, and people don't want to take that extra step. And like everybody has Facebook, so, or at least there's definitely a lot of people that have Facebook that just don't bother with Discord. So
I think I mentioned this earlier, but one of the ways that we hope to be able to grow the game is maybe some in-person events, maybe. Certainly it'd be nice to have an in-person tournament, ARH standard, but also, Smash would be awesome. It's just such a casual, limited, unique format where you don't have to worry about deck building. You don't have to worry about playing the top meta decks. You still have to know what you're doing. You still have to make good decisions and, sequenced and all that stuff. But you just smash, potentially a hero and a villain together and boom, you're off. And so,
yeah, Smash is great.
Have you played Smash much?
I've dabbled a little bit. But haven't, I have no one locally, so I haven't taken the time to put anything physical together. But I've seen people that have done the TTS things, and I've played in a little bit of that. But yeah, no, Smash is an awesome idea that I want to spend more time playing, and I would love to play some in person with it. But yeah, I give huge props to Dice Commando and all the guys that work on that, because it's a brilliant. It's kind of a limited format without Draft had kind of always had its issues, and Sealed always kind of had its issues. Smash kind of fixes all that to some extent in a very fun way to play, to get that limited feel of I'm playing with stuff that I wouldn't usually play with kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just, I told you earlier, I was just assembling. I'm assembling all the phase 1 decks right now, and man, it's daunting, but I'm going to do it. I just
I have all the cards, but it is very daunting.
Yeah, it's just I love the X8 Night Sniper. Man, I miss that card. What an awesome blaster. So anyway, I'm really excited about that, and I want to get my buddies into that. And my hope is that, they can learn the game through Smash. They can get a sense of how it works, and then maybe I can show them how to purchase some other stuff, right? Maybe from Kingwood or Aegis or whoever. But
Yeah.
that's the hope. So
That's a great idea.
yeah, well, hey man, I think we're starting to come to the end here. Anything else you wanted to take the chance to shout out for, or any announcements, anything at all?
I don't think I have anything I can like 100% like confirm and announce, but like keep your ear to the ground for an announcement for the mid-cycle high stakes competitive, whatever we're calling those galactic whatevers.
Okay.
On TTS. That news should come out, I think, before too long. So people have like a competitive goal to start grinding decks for in this new balanced meta. So that'll be cool.
Still have a chance to earn tickets and get promos and things. Is that right?
Yep.
Nice.
That whole thing that was so fun last time, and those spot glasses came out so beautiful, by the way. Yeah. Anybody that got some of the physical ones are like, those are as good as anything FFG ever. Those are probably better than some things FFG did. Our art team is like, they're amazing people with lots of talent. But yeah, keep an ear to the ground for an announcement for that coming out. Organized play kits. You're talking about in-person play. Like, those are, we have those going up, hopefully, new ones, whenever we get around, get around to posting them, but that stuff will go out. And that's just a great way. Like, if you want something to play for in person, that's a fun way to do it.
Yeah.
Trying to think like what else. I don't think we have any Worlds announcements yet, but those irons are still in the fire, working on hopefully some sort of Worlds, in-person Worlds event. Depending on if the world goes to crap again. It's kind of shaky right now, but fingers crossed.
Yeah,
we can go back to in-person big events. But yeah,
fingers crossed, man. Because I'm going. If we have that event, I'm going. My wife is like, yes, let's go to Vegas. She's like, wow, you want to go to Vegas? I'm like, yeah, I want to play Star Wars. She's like,
I want to go there play Star Wars.
We'll get you to go to Vegas. I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah, Vegas is an awesome destination. And if you're playing a game, like I've gone there for multiple different games that I've played, you're not losing money at the casino. So you can play games all day, go hit a buffet. It's all good. Didn't lose money at the casino. Positive bonus.
Good call, man.
Yeah, but anyway, that's about all I have to plug. Come out to EG's on Wednesday nights. I'm planning on being there this week, and I'll keep being there, playing new stuff. That's always fun. Be streaming it.
Yeah, and Artificery, right, for the month of August. You just posted the sign-up link for that.
Yep. You can sign up for the TTS league if you want. We've been hovering around like, I don't know, 20-ish people each league. But yeah, for like anybody that was like played it before and like got tired of getting smashed by the same deck over and over again, that was probably our number one complaint. Like I said, we have the new rule now that like, you get extra bonus points if you make it through your 8 games without playing the same character again in another deck. And yeah, like I've tracked for like this month, and I'll probably post a screenshot of it because it's pretty awesome to see. Like players enter in like what decks they played when they put in the enter in their results, and just like looking across of like all 20 players and all the 8 games that they've played, and just seeing like everything's a different deck, and people are playing some weird crap, and it's like, you don't have any idea what you're going to be playing against in these leagues now. So any of those people that were like, I hate playing League because I'm going to be playing like Mando like 8 times in a row, that's just dumb. Well, maybe give it another shot, because it's not that anymore with this new rule. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a great call. Great way to incentivize some diversity in the play field. So awesome, man. Well, thanks, Gandork, for coming out again. Maybe we'll have you again in another month or so.
Yeah, sure.
We'll coordinate something, but I appreciate it as always, man. So from On the Sensors, I'm Majo. We had Gandork with us tonight. Thanks again, my friend, and catch you guys next time. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.